All right, Jason Miller back with us, Trump 2020 campaign senior advisor. Jason, how are you tonight?
Great, good evening.
So right behind you is the Capitol. Behind that is the Supreme Court. I want to hear it from the Trump campaign, but we're talking to the experts. Pennsylvania was denied an injunction, the Parnell-Kelly case. This seeks to throw out all the mail-in ballots. But that does not mean this case is dead. That's from Alan Dershowitz and our experts. And I'm looking at the website. That case is still on the Supreme Court's docket. So it looks like it's not over, despite some of the headlines here.
Well, Greg, you're absolutely right. What they denied was the emergency consideration of it, so it's not going to be done right this second, but it is on the Supreme Court docket. This is something that Congressman Kelly and Sean Parnell can go and pursue and keep pushing ahead with. We do hope that they push ahead with this and the Supreme Court takes some immediate action. We also think there'll be some Supreme Court action with this Texas case, where Ken Paxton, the Attorney General from the state of Texas, is calling out the states of Michigan, Pennsylvania, Georgia, and also going to Pennsylvania as well, calling out the fact that they went and changed their voting systems in an unconstitutional method. The fact they didn't have the legislatures, which are the only bodies that actually do have the rights to go and change how states administer their elections, they didn't go and do it that way. They went and did it through some combination of whether it be executive powers or other things. So the Supreme Court is going to need to weigh in here. There's going to be a real interesting test here. We're going to see, do they have the courage to go and take this up? Because in too many places, Greg, we're not seeing enough courage from folks who need to put their foot down and say, you know what? No, Democrats, you cannot go and mechanize the rigging of our elections.
Well, interesting. We're seeing some courageous state attorneys general step forward. Texas filed this lawsuit, but they've been joined by Alabama, Louisiana, Mississippi, South Dakota. Is Kentucky on that list? A lot of other states are signing up. You know, initially the headlines are, oh, this crazy AG in Texas, so what? But now it's becoming more significant by the minute. Is there any chance that they could wrap the Pennsylvania case and the Texas case and all these other litigants into one big ball?
Well, keep in mind, so let's go and put them in a couple of different buckets, and I'll make it real easy to kind of break it down here as we kind of talk states, dates, and really the end game here. So the Texas case is essentially saying that the way that Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Georgia, the way that they administered their elections essentially invalidates or discounts the electoral votes in the election and the votes cast by those people in the state of Texas. It's saying that it's unfair to the people, and obviously they're now being joined by Alabama and Mississippi and a number of other states, also Louisiana, as you mentioned, South Dakota. And so this is going to be a real critical test. And this goes back to the framers and the way they set this up. Do states have the ability to go and run roughshod over other states? And this is a real issue of federalism, as we will see in front of the Supreme Court. This will be a critical test. As far as our litigation that's ongoing, two cases that I'd point you to. Number one, Wisconsin, where we believe that, legally speaking, we absolutely have it dead to rights. And this is where we're calling out the fact that there are not applications on file in the state of Wisconsin, in Milwaukee, and Dane counties in particular. This is, if they follow the letter of the law, President Trump should be announced as the winner of the state of Wisconsin. Now, where the rubber meets the road is always the issue of the remedy. Then you take a look at Georgia, where our election contest that was filed, where we filed examples that tally up to thousands and thousands of examples of fraud and election mismanagement. This is another one that should be thrown out. And so we've put out so many different examples of fraud and abuse, as well as the constitutional issues being brought up by Ken Paxton in Texas. Greg, I tell you, this is the time for Republicans, anyone who's conservative, and you know, even if you're not a Republican, if you just care about the rule of law, if you care about having confidence in our elections, this is the time to step up and actually do something about our elections.
Hey, by the way, I totally agree, by the way, and this is an opinion show, and you know how I feel. I want to show you this headline from CNN. A lot of the fake news outlets out there are trying to call this thing over. Denies request to block certification of election results in Pennsylvania. A blow to President Trump's hopes to return. Look, letter of the law, there's probably some truth to the request to block the certification. But some of the other headlines are trying to portray the Pennsylvania case as totally, totally dead, which it is not. By the way, some others are saying you've got to get this all wrapped up by a week from today. That is one step, I believe, in the Electoral College. but that is not in the Constitution, and there is flexibility about that date, correct?
Absolutely. This is one of the things where, of course, the media is trying to run it through because they don't want President Trump to win. They don't want him to be reelected. So they're going to say, no, this is a done deal. It's November 3rd. That was it. Well, except that we're going to go and keep it open until Joe Biden gets enough ballots, and then we'll cut it off. Well, wait, then it's going to be December 8th. Then it'll be December 14th. Here's what folks need to know. The only date that's actually in the Constitution is January 20th, and that is when we swear in the next president. Now, by both from the right and from the left, January 6th, when the new Congress is sworn in and they actually tally up the electoral votes, that's universally recognized as the real date, kind of the real end game of when we need to have this wrapped up. And whether it be former Justice Ginsburg, who said that back during Bush versus Gore, or you go back to 1960 when we had Hawaii couldn't decide if it was Nixon or JFK that won their state's electoral votes. Really, it's January 6th. So don't get caught into the trap of December 8th or 14th. It's really January 6th is the norm. But if there's still a contest going, the only thing in the Constitution, January 20th.
And I know there's enormous pressure on you, on others, and some of it is coming from Republicans to say, hey, look, Joe Biden's ahead. You know, Joe Biden, he's one of us. He knows how the system works. Let's just get back to business as usual. And I want to point out this Lincoln Project that's made up of so-called Republicans. Obviously, Republicans in name only, but some of them have been waging a cyberbullying campaign against attorneys who are working for your side. Here, the Lincoln Project, let's see here, puts up the office phone number. That's one thing, but you know, even private attorneys, those not in public office, have been chased off this case by the Lincoln Project. The media never give them a hard time whatsoever. Isn't that right?
Well, it is. And Greg, you know, karma's a you-know-what. And so Lincoln Project will get theirs. But the fact of the matter is there's a lot of courage on this end. We're going to fight this thing all the way through. Wish Georgia Governor Brian Kemp would show some courage, do something about the consent decree in advance of these Senate runoffs on January 5th. That's a big one.
It's all huge. And I still have faith. I really do. Jason Miller, I appreciate it very, very much from the Trump 2020 campaign. To be continued, sir.